I'm going to show you how to manage media in Propresenter. So, for instance, let's do this. I'm going to take this out. All right, so for instance, for announcements, um, let's say we have announcements that we need to put in. You're going to click the media bin, which is up here in the top right corner, and that opens this right here. You can open that up a little more. This is where all of your media is, videos and photos. The easiest way to get them into the presentation is just to drag and drop. Sorry. So I just dragged and dropped that in there. And then you're going to want to make sure that that's formatted correctly. For instance, here's our stage preview of how things are supposed to look at the main campus. So you'll notice we've just got our blank. That'd be while the pastors are talking. And then they reference whatever the announcement is. You click on it, and we only want it to show up in the sanctuary because we want the people online to be looking at the pastor, not at a graphic online. So you have to make sure that the look is correct. You can do that by editing the action, and if it has an audience look on there, you can see what it is. And I usually have any graphics or announcements are set to sanctuary only. So that's correct. And then the next slide kind of takes everything back to normal. So if you had multiple announcements, you would do this. You would copy this. You'd leave this blank right here. You would paste, and then you'd right-click this, and you would remove that image. And so if you had another announcement, you'd go find the image you want, drag it and drop it, and then let's see if it worked. So they make, whoops. So they make their first announcement, boom. Then there's a blank. They make their second announcement, boom. So you would go on doing that for as long as you need to. If there's more announcements, you just copy, paste, more announcement spots and more blank spots to use. The same is true of videos. So let's say that we had a sermon. So let's go down to the sermon. Let's say we had a video in the sermon. You would go Command F, go to sermon. I just use this one called sermon graphic as just our general, like, if they don't have a PowerPoint, if they just have some kind of multimedia but no scripted PowerPoint, I use this sermon graphic one as just basically, it's this. It's blank on both sides, and then in the middle there is a spot for media. This question mark means that the media isn't, it's that Propresenter is not finding the original file. You don't really need to worry about that. I delete everything after we're done using it, and that's why it can't find that. But I'll just use the countdown clock as an example. So say this was some other sermon video. You just get it, you drag it, you drop it, and then you make sure that the look is correct. So if it's a sermon video, you do want the people at home to see it. So you would want to make sure that when you click on it, that it shows up. Sorry, I forgot that had audio too. But when you click on it, you want to make sure that it shows up in both places if it's in the sermon. That's for sermon videos, at least. Sermon graphics are different. If the pastor is only using a graphic, like they just have one graphic that they want to leave up the whole sermon, which does happen, then you would find that graphic. Let's say it's this one. And you would just make sure that when you click on it, you don't want it to show up for forever online because they'll never see the pastor. So if they have a sermon graphic that's supposed to just stay there the whole time they're preaching, you want to edit the audience look. And instead of sanctuary and online as is, you want sanctuary only. Let's see if that fixes it. Yeah. So now, if this were the sermon graphic for the preacher, they would see online, they would just keep seeing the preacher. But in the sanctuary, up on the projector screens, they would see the sermon graphic right there. Now, let's talk about adding media. So you have to add it into Propresenter. And the way you would do that is any media that needs to be added, it needs to live in the downloads folder. So hold on. So I'll do that again. So first you would download it off the internet or from their email or whatever. And you would make sure that it goes to the downloads folder right here. Once it's in the downloads folder, I make sure that I name it something that is helpful. And then I move it over to the slides. Or sometimes you can leave it in the downloads folder. If it's a slide or a graphic, I like to move it into the slides folder. If it's a video, I'll usually just leave it right here because I'm going to delete it right after that Sunday anyways. But don't save it to the desktop. The only thing I keep on the desktop is that 5-minute countdown. Don't save it to documents. You don't want to, I don't want stuff, this is very clean. I don't want stuff like there were even some songbooks in here that needed to be deleted. Don't save it to Google Drive. Don't save it to applications. You get the point. Save it to downloads. So you pull whatever it is down from the internet. You save that slide or picture or whatever down here. Now to get it into Propresenter, all you do is open the media bin. Remember, that's this button up here. So you open the media bin and you click this plus right here. Click from Finder. So you're adding media from Finder. And that's going to pull up this window. You want to make sure that you go to Downloads, and your content should be here, either right there or here in the Slides folder. You click on what you want to bring in, and then you just click Import. Now, I already have this in Propresenter, so I'm not going to click the button. But once you click Import, it will bring it in, and it will show up right there. And then, as we've already said, if you want to add that into Propresenter, into a slideshow, you would just find where it needs to go, drag it, and drop it. This is the same for the announcements up here, these rolling announcements. It's the same process. If you need to add an announcement, here's what you would do. You would copy a current announcement. You would paste it to make a duplicate. You would then right-click it, go to Remove Actions, and remove the JPEG. You'd come down here and find what you want to drag in and do it. And then you probably want to check it, click on it, and let's clear all. And let's make sure it's showing up the way it needs to. Great, it's doing what it's supposed to do because, as you remember, these pre- and post-service announcement loops are only supposed to show up in the sanctuary, not online, because online they should be seeing the 5-minute countdown video. This middle part looks a little funky because I'm actually on the downtown service plan because I didn't have one for the morning available to use. But it's all the same. It all works the same. So that's how you import media. That's how you move media into the particular slideshow. And that's how you manipulate it to have different looks and show up in different places. I think that's it in terms of how you would use media. Again, if you come in here and there's like a question mark over a picture, it just means that it can't find it. So sometimes you'll open this media bin and there will be like, instead of this, where you see the slide, it'll just be like blank. It'll just be a box with nothing in it. And that usually means that just Propresenter has forgotten where those slides are. If that ever happens, you just re-import them from Finder, go in and find what you need, click it, import it. And if there are ever any like random blank graphics in here that literally show nothing, you just delete those and get them out of the way. So that's how to manage media in Propresenter.